So let's dive into our favorite topic to talk about on this show. And you guys can tune out for about 10-15 minutes if you're not interested.
No, don't tune out. Don't tune out. This is good stuff.
If you're not interested in wrestling, like I understand some people, you know, it is what it is. People just don't want to hear it. So if you don't want to, but if you don't mind us talking about it, let's go into it. We talked about it a little bit off air. And I did not mention this to you. I read a report early this morning that said that WWE is potentially planning another draft for the end of September, so that when we go into Fox, you know, Raw and SmackDown now have completely separate rosters. I'm really looking forward to this, man. I think it's going to be great for every party involved. I think the Wednesday Night Wars now with NXT and AEW. Well, give me your thoughts on the state of wrestling right now.
The state of wrestling is interesting, I would say.
Interesting
to say the least. But as far as the state of wrestling goes, there's so much to talk about. And I think that this is the most exciting time for me. I've been a fan for about 15 years now. This is definitely the most exciting that it's been for me. With WWE right now and shifting to Fox, a mainstream network, and also with All Elite Wrestling coming out with TNT on October 2nd. Man, it's going to be a good time. I actually just ordered my tickets for AEW in Pittsburgh at the Peterson Event Center. And they announced that they're going to be in Pittsburgh on October 23rd. Excited about that. But closer than that, we've got All Out tomorrow from the Sears Center Arena in Chicago, the best city in wrestling, the most rabid fans, the best matches. It's going to be on AEW All Out. But as far as the status of the WWE draft...
Really quick, I want to cover something really quick. I think Brooklyn has better fans than Chicago.
Well, you're only watching the WWE product, and the best shows in WWE are at the Barclays Center because that's their new garden.
Okay. That's a fair counter.
And also, you got to think about the fans in Chicago. And, you know, especially they're fans of a special guy that we're going to talk about sprinkled in there when I talk about this all-out show here in a couple of minutes. But back to the WWE draft thing so we stay on topic. I think it's a good thing if they stick to their guns. I think it makes sense if they stick to their guns. If Roman Reigns is on SmackDown with Fox, I do not want to see him on Raw. Raw should strictly be Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch's show. Same thing with Bray Wyatt. He doesn't have to be on Fox. He needs to be on Raw. Hopefully, I'll talk to you whether it's more on this show, more on a later show about Bray Wyatt. We'll get into it at some point. But just, if you're going to do a draft, keep it a separate brand so that both shows are of value. Because if guys are on both brands, what's the point of splitting up the roster? Doesn't make any sense.
Really quick, and we got to talk about this beforehand, but what do you do now with Corey Graves? Because we're talking about separate splits. Do you put him on Raw or SmackDown?
I would put him on SmackDown. I think he's the best heel announcer that they have. And I think on the Raw side, you put Vic Joseph on Raw. I think Vic Joseph, he was terrible when he filled in for Graves. Well, he wasn't terrible.
He was terrible.
It was just probably the first time that...
He was terrible.
It was the first time... He was terrible. And I'll admit to it. And you want to know why? Because they tried to produce him as, like, Michael Cole's twin.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, make him original. I hope that they give Vic Joseph a chance to go on Raw and be Vic Joseph. Whoever Vic Joseph is, I want to see some of his personality. But going on, what else should we talk about?
You know, we got about 8 minutes left, so because I know you want to talk about All Out. So let's talk about All Out. And just kind of give me what you were thinking about telling me off air.
Okay, Brandon. Well, I'm really going to keep tabs on this show on Saturday. I feel like the show is a little bit snake bit. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter that John Moxley has to pull out the Kenny Omega match. Big blow for AEW. That's horrible. That was probably my favorite match that was going to be on this card. And really unfortunate, but we get to build more towards a Kenny Omega John Moxley match at the next big pay-per-view. So we can do that. And Neville will be the replacement for Moxley, and that'll be a good match. My favorite match will be the Escalera de Muertes, Young Bucks, and Pentagon and Phoenix in a tag team ladder match for the tag titles. I would love to see the Lucha Bros win that match. The Young Bucks put over the Lucha Bros, and the Lucha Bros win the blow off of the feud. Cody Rhodes, Ty Dillinger, Shawn Spears. Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears. I would like to see Shawn Spears win to set up he's the #1 contender for the world title. Moving on, Kenny Omega beats Pac, and then in the main event of the show, I know that you said Chris Jericho should win the world championship in the main event, but I look at this as WrestleMania 10. When Bret Hart won the world title from Yokozuna, the locker room came out and lifted him on top of all their shoulders as he was crowned the new champion. I see that in the form of Hangman Adam Page. If you want to push young talent and you want to push that this is an alternative product, I don't think that you can have a WWE guy, Chris Jericho, a WWE legend, win your world title as a separate brand. I just don't think it can happen. So I think Hangman Adam Page wins the world title. And what are your thoughts on that? I mean, as far as what you follow.
That's a huge point, and think about it, I agree with you. Here's my thing. Do you think TNT has any involvement in this? Like, we want Jericho to be like a big promoter. Do you think they have any involvement in that?
Well, I think that that's a good point, Brandon, is that Chris Jericho is going to be on top of the marquee on TNT because he was in WCW on TNT 20 years ago. He's the top guy from WWE there, and now pushing him as the top guy would be smart. But I don't think that you can have a situation where the fans go home angry because a WWE guy won. I think Jericho's popular, but I just think that it doesn't have the springboard to TNT like Adam Page would.
Is Adam Page a marquee guy that TNT can market and draw to? That's the question that they're going to ask themselves, because think about it. TNT right out of the box is going up against NXT, which, by the way, fun fact, Chris Jericho, as we know, was on the first episode of NXT. He was the trainee of the original winner Wade Barrett. So there's a little history there. So TNT is going to try to beat out the USA Network. Fans that, do you feel like that casual fans who tune into AEW, do you feel like they're going to know who Adam Page is? Or do you feel like people that watch wrestling for the first time, like, there's a sense to that, like, if you tune into wrestling, are you going to watch for the first time, for like first-time viewers? Are you going to see AEW? Or are you going to see WWE? So I guess my thing is, like, are people going to know who Adam Page is if they tune in to AEW?
Well, the casual fan might not know yet. And here's the thing. NXT, AEW, you're going to have to pick a side, right? Unless you have two TVs in your room, which is highly unlikely.
Or if you're like me and you watch Property Brothers on HGTV on Wednesday night, now you have a dilemma.
Right. But you're going to have to pick a side come October 2nd.
Well, but here's the thing, though. Maybe you won't, because NXT, I need to get my words right, NXT is going to be on the WWE Network 24 hours later in a full stream cycle. That, to me, is almost advantage AEW, because AEW doesn't have like a replay system, I wouldn't think, so you kind of have to watch AEW because you can go back and watch NXT.
It was the same scenario back 20 years ago when in 95 Raw was taped and Nitro wasn't. And that's a big deal, and that's a good point. I love how you brought that up. AEW might win on Wednesday night, and that's their goal. But at the end of the day, I think that Jericho needs to be at the top of the marquee for AEW. But back to NXT for a minute. If you're going to choose one or the other, NXT is going to be like grad school for these NXT greats. You got Velveteen Dream, you got Matt Riddle, you got all these guys. It's going to be like grad school for them. They're going to stay on NXT, hopefully never have to go to the main roster again. But the fact that it's not going to be live is going to be a detriment to those wrestlers. That's a great point. But AEW, they have so much freedom. And this is their big moment. All Out in Chicago, it is their WrestleMania. This is the place where they build the ground for the television show. But I got to say, there's one thing that AEW has to do tomorrow night to increase viewers, and I'm going to tell you what that is. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF, top heel in the business, right, with the scarf, comes down to the ring, and he cuts a heel promo on the Chicago fans. And if you've never seen MJF,
Oh, I love
Creed,
MJF.
wonderful heel. He stays in character all the time, wildly entertaining. Comes to the ring, cuts a heel promo, and we're in his hometown. You know who comes out? The hometown boy.
No, he's not coming. I know where you're going. I don't think he shows up.
He is coming because he's going to be on StarCast on Saturday before the show. So if he's going to be at StarCast, chances are he's going to show up in one way or another. And CM Punk fans are a little bit different than normal wrestling fans. It's almost like, if I were to compare it in any way, Punk's fans are a lot like Roddy Piper fans, in the way that they're so committed, or like Steve Austin fans. They're so committed to Punk. He's been out of the game for 5 years. Saturday at StarCast, he's going to have a live mic. Come out during the MJF promo and just the place explodes. The Sears Center would not be able to believe their eyes, and it would be the biggest comeback in wrestling since Hulk Hogan came back to WWF in 2002.
Mike West.
And that would be the big star that would propel them to know, hey, CM Punk's on TV. CM Punk used to be my favorite wrestler. I'm going to tune in and watch. And the guy I like to call him, the Lord of the Indies, CM Punk, could really help put this show over.
So you think Punk is going to become a member of AEW full-time? Is that what you're saying?
150%. His agent, there was a story in The Observer of Dave Meltzer that said that his agent contacted Fox, and that doesn't make any sense. I think it's a part of the storyline. I think it's a work.
Okay.
And I think that it's all leading to. I think it's all leading to this big moment, and there's not going to be a better building than Chicago, because just like Money in the Bank 2011, that place will be going nuts for their hero CM Punk.
Interesting. All right, Mike, we have to wrap it up here, but I appreciate you for coming on, man. Hey, are you and Mitch preparing to do another run of Mitch and Mike?
Actually, unfortunately, with my work schedule and with things that I'm doing with TV2, unfortunately, Mitch and I will not be having a show this semester.
Okay.
But, Brandon's World is around. I'll hope to peek in every now and again.
Hey, you are welcome back anytime. Next week we have DJ auditions. If you guys are at Kent State, you guys see PSR DJ auditions are all over this campus. We chunked this whole campus Wednesday night. So come in next week, 9-3 to 9-7. Come in an audition. It's going to be great. I will be in this studio interviewing people, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Make sure you audition. It's a lot of fun with Black Squirrel Radio. If you're on campus, if you're listening to this, if you're somebody that's on the border, you're a freshman in Kent State JMC who's thinking about auditioning for Black Squirrel Radio, just do it, man. You'll have a blast. So.
All right, Mike. Well, thank you for coming on, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Brandon, and really appreciate it, man.